I'm really very sorry. Something came up and I had to go attend to it. I'm really, really, really very sorry. Very, very sorry. Yes, as I was saying, so I'm starting all over again anyway, because this has to be posted on my YouTube channel later when I'm done. So I need to start all over again. So my apologies once again. My name is Ladi Salakora and this is my channel. My YouTube channel is Fair Criticism. Because people, a lot of people want me to do it here because it's easier for them to watch via YouTube channel. So I come here and I post on YouTube later. Sometimes I go live on YouTube as well. So I've been speaking about the phenomenon called speaking in tongue in today's parlance. But in the original parlance, in the parlance of the Bible, it's actually speaking with new tongues. That's what the Bible says, at least in the traditional King James Version. Speaking with new tongues. And if you read other versions of the Bible, you realize that the tongue simply means languages, and speaking with new language or languages would be the alternative way of saying speaking with new tongues. Tongues means languages, and speaking with new languages, would be the appropriate thing to say. Now, going back to what I was saying before, this is a ninth episode or part 9 of the series I've been teaching, I've been sharing for some time now. This is the ninth edition or the part 9 of the series, and it's titled The Controversial Tongues. And essentially, what I set out to do with this broadcast is to call your attention to what the Bible says about the popular speaking in new tongues or speaking in tongues in today's churches or among today's speakers of new tongues. What the Bible says and what is being practiced are quite different. And from my research, I actually found out that the bulk of the issue is not so much as in people's deliberate act of doing the wrong thing as against what the Bible says. It's more of ignorance, more of lack of knowledge about what the Bible actually says about speaking with tongues and what the Bible actually means by speaking with tongues. So I took it from the very beginning. The first time where the phenomenon was actually mentioned in the Bible by Jesus in the book of Mark 16 verse 15, when Jesus said to the disciples after he appeared to them when he was about to go to heaven, he told them that they should go into the word and preach the gospel. They should go into the word and preach the gospel. And then you can imagine from there, how would they go to Arabia, how would they go to Egypt, how would they go to Africa, how would they go to Asia and the rest of the world, speaking only Galilean. Just imagine that. I'm sorry you couldn't see my face a while ago because I temporarily went offline to attend to something very important. So I had to start over again. I'm sorry about that for going offline for a while. So Jesus asked them, he charged them to go into the word to preach the gospel, and that whoever that believed the gospel would be able to heal the sick, cast out devils, and if they by any chance eat anything poisonous, it would not hurt them, and they will be able to speak with new tongues. Okay, once again I apologize for going offline for a little while. I went to do something, so I'm back. I'm sorry for going off a little while. So as I said, then Jesus Christ told them that they will be able to do this. Anyone who believes the gospel will be able to do all of these things. Now, the misconception, starts with understanding what Jesus Christ meant when he said and these signs shall follow those who believe. What did Jesus mean that these signs will follow those who believe? That was where the misconception came from. People didn't take time to understand why Jesus Christ told the disciples, anyone who believes the gospel will be able to do this. All right? One of those things would be to be able to speak with new tongues. All of these things, being able to heal the sick, being able to cast out devils, being able to shake off serpents if you step on them or if they bite you, or and the ability to speak with new languages. So I prefer to use languages. These were supposed to be signs. In fact, Jesus called them signs. He said, these signs shall follow you, those who believe. And indeed, you realize that all of these were not instructions. They were not something to be done. Jesus tried to instruct them, go ye and start healing the sick and start speaking with new tongues and start stepping on serpent and start eating poison and start speaking with new languages. No, Jesus Christ didn't tell them that. What he told them was to go into the word and preach the gospel. That was the only instruction he gave them. But he said that those who believe the gospel, including them anyway, would be able to show those signs. So it wasn't a deliberate thing that needed to be done. They didn't go about looking for serpent to step on. No, they didn't. They didn't go about looking for poison to drink, just like some clowns do these days. Some said they wanted to walk on waters. Some said some went to the lands then, and stuff like that. That is stupidity. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ never instructed us to go about speaking with new tongues. No. He never said anything special about it. No. I'm talking from the Bible. If you have followed my series from part 1 to part 8, this is part 9, you would have a full understanding of what I'm talking about today. It's as simple as that. Jesus Christ didn't instruct us to speak with new tongues. He didn't instruct us to look for serpent to step on. He didn't instruct us to go about healing the sick. No. He only said, these signs shall follow those that believe. In my name, they will heal the sick. They will cast out devils. Do we go about casting out devils everywhere we go? As we go about speaking with tongues? Everybody can brag. I'm going to talk about that later. Jesus Christ didn't ask us to go and be doing that. But as he told them to go to the world to preach the gospel, he knew that these signs will actually attest them. Once believers are able to, accept the gospel and then they manifest this, they will see that it's a sign that, oh, truly, the Spirit of God has come unto them. It was just for that purpose only, for the purpose of helping the preaching of the gospel, and it wasn't something to be done deliberately. Even when Jesus Christ was alive during his ministry, as he was going about, he didn't go about deliberately to go and heal or to go and cast out devils. But occasionally, when he ran into those who were demon possessed, and sometimes he tried to avoid it. But when they followed him, when they demanded, when they begged him, then he cast out devils. When Paul was traveling and then offshore or something, he was bitten by a very poisonous rattlesnake or something, and he thought he was going to die. He didn't die. Paul didn't go look for the snake to come and bite him. And you remember Peter and John, when they were going to the temple called Beautiful, they were not going there to deliberately heal that man. They were going on their own, and the man begged them. So these are the signs: casting out devils, serpent biting you and you're not being hurt. None of them went to look for these things to happen. So how come everyone wants to speak with new tongues? How come it is taught that, speaking with new tongues is a powerful, whatever they have taught it to be? The Bible never said anything like that. Nothing like that. So you want to get a fuller understanding of everything I've said about, because I took it from the beginning. And I cannot be repeating the whole thing all over again in the new episodes I do. Excuse me. So if you want to find out what I've said so far, please simply go on my YouTube channel or on Facebook, go to my timeline and see my videos there. Okay, but it's easy to search on YouTube as well. Just look for the controversial tongues. That's the title of the series I've been teaching for some time now. All right. So that's it. So as I was saying, today I'm actually in my last episode, last part 8, I did say that I did establish a lot of facts about this in the book of 1 Corinthians verse 14. I read it in a couple of versions and I broke it down to the simplest level for anyone who has read that 1 Corinthians 14 as either misconstrued it or didn't understand it. I broke it down to the barest minimum meaning that you can get from it. All right. So I want to continue further. I actually stopped somewhere. One of the misconceptions about speaking with tongues is that when you read the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 14, somewhere there, Paul says, "I thank God that I speak with tongues, or I speak in tongues more than all of you." People who use that to back their claim of speaking in new tongue, or who use that to back up their teaching about their wrong teaching. To me, their wrong teaching about speaking with new tongue is that they say, "Oh, even Paul says he speaks with tongues more than all of you. So what are you people talking about? That means speaking in tongues is commanded, is instructed, is this and that." Today, I want to take you through the book of Acts. Don't forget, I told you earlier on that this series I'm teaching is in a book that I already written. I wrote it a couple of years back, and it's still unpublished because I kept on researching and getting facts and adding facts and all that. So I'm going to take you through the book of Acts to see how Paul traveled, through different countries, and the evidence to back up the fact that he said he spoke with tongues more than they all. If you are a Bible reader, or you know your Bible very well, if you have studied the life of Paul, you would realize that Paul was first of all a scholar. He was a lawyer. He was of more than one nativity. That if you have read the Bible very well, you realize that at some point he would claim being Roman, then he would claim being Greek, then he could claim the lineage of Jew, he could claim being Jewish, and something like that. Because he was talented, he was gifted in the ability to speak different languages. That was exactly why Paul said that he thanked God that he could speak with other languages more than they all. But people failed to check what was actually after that statement. Go back to your Bible. Let me actually check to be precise. 1 Corinthians. Let me quickly show you something there. Just a minute. 1 Corinthians 14. I'm going to be reading from New International Version. So, I want to show you where Paul said, "I thank God I speak in tongues more than all of you." Okay, that is verse 18. I want you to have thoroughly dealt with this chapter, but for the sake of emphasis, I need to say this again, because people just take portion of the 1 Corinthians 14 and they blow it out of proportion and still get even more confused. Now, verse 18. Paul says that 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 18, Paul says, I thank God that I speak in tongues more than all of you. But, that's the next thing, verse 19. For those of you who understand English, I don't want to say for those of you who study English, for at least for those of you who understand English, when you say something and then your next statement, the following statement starts with but. What do you think you're trying to say about the first statement you've made? So people just say, oh, Paul says he spoke in tongues more than the rest of them. So what are you talking about? No, they never completed their statement. Paul says, I thank God. Now, before then, there was something he said before then, but let's just start from here. Paul says, I thank God that I speak in tongues more than all of you. But in the church, I'm reading from the Bible now, but in the church, I would rather speak 5 intelligible words to instruct others than 10,000 words in a tongue. How does that sound to you? Is he even trying to boast about the ability to speak more tongues than all of them? That was not the intention. He said, I thank God that I can actually speak in tongues more than all of you. But in the church, I would rather speak 5 intelligible words to instruct others than 10,000 words in a tongue. What do you think Paul is trying to say here? It's very, very apparent. He says that in the church, he would rather speak 5 intelligible. You know the meaning of the word intelligible? That makes sense. Intelligible. Go and check the word intelligible in your dictionary. You see what it means. He said, I would rather speak 5, just 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 intelligible words to instruct others, not to even pray. You see, I'm going to talk about, that's the second thing I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about 3 things today. No, I may not even really go deeper in Book of Acts. 3 misconceptions that Paul spoke in tongues more than other people, so then that means encouraging us to speak in tongues. And that then about speaking and then praying. Remember the third thing. So you can see what Paul is saying here. He says, I thank God I can speak in tongues more than all of you. He said, but in the church, I would rather speak 5 intelligible words to instruct others than 10,000 words in a tongue. What is that telling you? 2 things are very key there. In the church, it means that when you are in church, it's important to speak intelligible words so that by your voice, others may learn, others may be blessed, others may be edified. You remember verse 2 that people often confuse. They confuse it. Let's go back to verse 2. I've done this thing before. I've over-dealt with this, but I'm doing it again. Don't forget what we just read now. Paul said, I thank God I can speak in tongues more than all of you. He said, but in church, I would rather, in church. So it's important to note that in church, whenever you are in church service, you should avoid confusing others. Avoid anything that makes it, and that makes what you have come to do in church selfish. Because if you are able to speak other languages, as to me, what the Bible meant by speaking in tongues, or speaking with other tongues, or speaking with unknown tongues, or speaking different languages, as the different versions of the Bible puts it. Alright? So, Paul says that in church, I would rather speak 5 words. So, because what's the use of speaking? Okay, you are in an English-speaking church. Majority of the people could speak English. That's the common language. And then you just go about because you could speak French, Arabic, and maybe Portuguese and Spanish. And you just go, Makatore de, you just begin to speak Sefini, Bonjour, what's good, Dio, Lapetu, and you're speaking Portuguese, mixing it with Arabic because you could speak all those languages. That's exactly what Paul is talking about there, because that was what actually happened in the church, in the Corinthian church. Many of the worshippers were from different countries, because Corinth was a cosmopolitan city. So, and I told you from the previous episode that the church of Corinth was not a church of model. It's not a church to model after. It's not a church that you can say, oh, there was a lot of things were wrong with the church, and this was one of them. They were just showing off with the ability to speak different languages. Showing off with that. They were showing off with that. They were practically speaking all the languages. And Paul was telling them, you are cosmopolitan. You are not edifying the people. You are only edifying yourself. Because if you are worshiping God in an English-speaking church, you are worshiping God, and then you concentrate on speaking the languages that you know. Others who are maybe probably new believers, or others who are probably are not gifted in the tongue you're speaking, in the language you're speaking, will not be blessed. And they may be of a little faith, and they came to church to be blessed. For example, you have been in the church for so long, and then you're praying. In an English-speaking church, we're praying in Hausa language or in Spanish, and then maybe there is an unbeliever behind you. You can't even understand everything you're saying. That I'm even talking about in prayer now. But in this chapter, Paul never actually meant prayer, because that's why every time he said, speak in tongues, speak in tongues, speak with tongues. So, verse 2, that people often confuse. They confuse it a lot. I told you, Paul meant in a corporate worship in church. Say, I would rather speak 5 words to instruct others than speak in 10,000 unintelligible words. Verse 2 says, for anyone, okay, let me start from verse 1. It says, follow the way of love and eagerly desire gifts of the Spirit, especially prophecy. For anyone who speaks in a tongue, for anyone who speaks in a tongue does not speak to people but to God. Do you think, so many people who back up their thought that this was a praise, this was an encouragement to keep speaking in tongue. No! Paul is actually addressing the problem here. He says that, from verse 1, that what you should do is to pursue love and desire gifts of the Spirit. He said, especially to prophesy. To prophesy, if you read it from the Amplified Version, is to preach, to give instruction that can edify everyone in a common language that is known by most of the worshippers in the church at that time. That's what prophecy means here. He said, especially to prophesy. He said, for anyone who speaks in a tongue. You see, when you say something, first of all, you should try to eat good food. I'm just saying for an example. I'm making an analogy now. You should try to eat good food. Especially foods that contain protein. Okay? For anyone who eats food that contains starch and carbohydrates, actually they are only trying to get energy for themselves. Of course, they are not trying to get other classes of food, or trying to get energy for themselves. Probably need the energy for something. Indeed, of course, they need the energy, and then it's important to them. Yeah. But I'm making an analogy. But the one who eats a balanced diet will not only give energy, but will supply the body all necessary nutrients. So for using the word but, he meant that, it's trying to contradict what he said. To give a better explanation of what we've done. Okay? Exactly what's happening here. Paul starts by saying, follow the way of love. What's the way of love? Is to do things in church, is to desire gifts of God that will benefit the entire body of Christ. Follow the way of love and eagerly desire gifts of the Spirit, especially prophecy. Say, for anyone who speaks in a tongue does not speak to people but to God. Remember, I told you that speaking with tongue or in tongues is not prayer. Those that did it from the Bible, from those that did it previously, were not praying. The apostles were not praying. The household of Cornelius were not praying. They were listening to the word like this, and the Holy Spirit came upon them and they spoke with other tongues. The disciples of John in Acts 19, they were not praying. Paul just saw them. Hey guys, what's up? Have you been baptized with the baptism of the Spirit? He said, no, we have never heard anything like that. He said, how come? Saying, what name? To what were you baptized? He said, we're baptized to John. Oh, he said, no. He laid his hand upon them, and then they spoke with other tongues. They were not praying. Those were the three examples. These were the only three instances. They were not praying. So how come you turned speaking with other tongues, or speaking in tongues? Paul said here, who speaks in a tongue? That means there's one tongue, one language. So when you say I speak in tongues, you speak in different tongues of people. That's what Paul is saying. He said, for anyone who speaks in a tongue does not speak to people. Exactly, that's the problem. When you speak in a particular tongue that is different from the common tongue, you're not speaking to the people. You are only speaking to God. In an English-speaking church, if I'm probably living in a worship while I'm praying, let's just say, let's convert it to prayer. I'm praying now. And I'm praying in French. Of course, nobody would understand me. But Paul is not talking about prayer here. He said, he who speaks in a tongue. So the idea of prayer does not even come here. That's where people get it wrong. They think it's about prayer. Paul is not talking about prayer. It's anyone who speaks, not anyone who prays in a tongue. So stop confusing speaking in tongues or in a particular tongue with praying. You can actually use different languages or different tongues to pray. But here, that what you use to back up what you do, Paul is not talking about the same thing you are talking about. Paul is talking about something different. He says, for anyone who speaks in a tongue does not speak to people but to God. Why? Because when you are actually supposed to be speaking to people and then you are not speaking to the people, who are you speaking to? Then God. But there's something wrong. He said, oh, of course, indeed. No one understands them. They utter mysteries by the Spirit. Because for you to be able to speak other languages that you could not speak in, don't forget in King James Version, it says, for anyone who speaks in an unknown tongue, meaning a tongue a language that the person didn't know before. He said the person indeed, he said no one understands them because yes, they are speaking by the power of the Spirit. They are uttering mysteries. That mystery is not confusion. I've explained this in my previous. The mystery, if you have read other versions of the Bible, if you read it, it will show you what it meant by mystery. Wonderful works of God. That was the simplest explanation of this. So indeed, no one understands them. They utter mystery in spirit, but that's what follows it. Think intelligibly there. If what Paul is trying to say is, anyone who speaks in tongues, either in prayer or whatever, is talking to God. So what's the business of anyone caring about trying to understand them? Why must you understand them? Since they are speaking with he says, they don't speak to people, but they speak to God. Indeed, no one understands them. If that's what Paul is saying, that, nobody has to understand them, why does he start the next verse with but? It's like in a continuous statement, you made an assertion, and then you continue by saying but. That but is to contradict what you have just said. That's what it means in English. That's the simplest understanding of the use of but in a continuous expression. So Paul says, but the one who prophesies speak to people for their strengthening, encouraging, and comfort. Verse 4, anyone who speaks in a tongue edifies themselves, but the one who prophesies edifies the church. Why but? To differentiate between these two. If Paul was not trying to contradict this to explain this, he wouldn't use but. He would simply use and, or would not even use any conjunction. He would just finish the expression and pick the other one. But he keeps on, look at the use of but. From verse 1 to verse, to verse 5. How many buts there? But, yeah, 2 buts there. And they were used for a very significant reason. So, but the one who prophesies speaks to people for their strengthening, encouraging, and comfort. Anyone who speaks in tongue edifies themselves. How? Why? I've explained before. I'll say it again. When you are praising God, when you are talking about God's wonderful works, when you're speaking mysteries about God in a different tongue, in a particular tongue, of course, you are what? You are edifying yourself. What does it mean to edify yourself? To edify means to build yourself. Now, there's another confusion about edify that most people who believe in speaking in tongues to be spiritual language of prayer. They believe that edify is the feeling that you get, the arousing feeling in you when you begin to speak, when you begin to speak with other tongues. That goose pimples that develops, that's the building that you swell in the spirit. That's what they call edify. But you go and check the meaning of the word edify from the dictionary. You will see that, and it even says it there. It says, but the one who speaks to people for their strengthening, that's the edify. Strengthening, encouraging, and comfort. He said, but anyone who speaks in the tongue edifies himself, but the one who prophesies edifies the church. Now, verse 5 just nails it. It says, I would like every one of you to speak in tongues. That's another one. One person says, I speak in tongues more than all of you. This one says, oh, I would like every one of you to speak in tongues, but that's the second part there. What do you think? You understand English, I suppose? Those of you that are watching me. If someone says, I would like all of you to speak in tongues. That is, I would like all of you to speak with different languages, to speak in different languages. But I would rather have you prophesy. What is the meaning of that? Can somebody just explain? If I say, I would love all of you to come to school every day, but I would rather you stay at home. I would love you to stay at home. What is the person trying to say? What is the person trying to say? I need somebody's response. I would love all of you to eat energy-giving food every day, but I would rather you eat balanced diet. What is the person trying to say? It's a simple analogy. It says, anyone who speaks in a tongue edifies themselves, but the one who prophesies edifies the church. I would like every one of you to speak in tongues, but I would rather have you prophesy. The one who prophesies is greater than the one who speaks in tongues. Look at that. That is like the last straw that breaks the camel's back. Simple. I mean, what else do you need then? If you read this intelligibly, you see somebody's trying to set a dichotomy between two parallels. Oh, you do this, it's fine that you do this, it's fine that you do this, it's fine that you do this. But actually, this is the right thing to do. It's as simple as what he's trying to say there. It's as simple as it is. So when someone is trying to draw a dichotomy, he's trying to actually drive home a particular point. So by saying, anyone who speaks in the tongue edifies themselves. But the one who prophesies edifies the church. He says, I would like every one of you to speak in tongues. But, this but there is used to contradict the previous statement. But I would rather have you prophesy. It didn't stop there. It goes on to say, the one who prophesies is greater than the one who speaks in tongues. I mean, that's like the final note. If it says the one who prophesies is greater, What is he trying to drive home? What is the point he's trying to make? Having been talking about, if you prophesy, you are edifying the whole church. You are strengthening them. You are encouraging them. You are bringing comfort to them. And I have explained to you the meaning of prophesying. If you want to get more meaning on that, go and read this in the amplified version. You get more. Hello, sir. I greet you, sir. My barrister, I greet you, sir. Good evening, sir. Yes. You're welcome to my channel, sir. So, you go and read this in the amplified version. You get more understanding of what prophesying means. Because some people may confuse prophecy as in telling what has happened in the past or what will happen in the future. No. It's not about that. Prophesying, if you read it in the amplified version, it gives you more elaborate meaning. To prophesy here means to speak inspired, to speak inspired preaching, to preach from inspiration of God's Spirit to people's encouragement. And this could only be done if you actually do it in the language that everyone understands. Because how would you bring comfort to people of different language origin, people with different language background? How would you bring comfort, encouragement to them by way of edification if they didn't or they wouldn't understand your language? So for you to understand, for you to get the viewpoint of Paul here, that he's not actually talking about just praying in some spiritual language as some people would explain it. So it's very clear here. Very clear. Paul is saying that, yes, if you speak in a tongue, if you speak a particular language, it's fine. You actually, because people wouldn't understand you, you're actually speaking to God. But that's not the true essence of that spiritual gift of the ability to speak another language. That's what Paul is saying. Trace this back to what Jesus said in the book of Mark 15. Mark 16 verse 15. Jesus said, "These signs shall follow." He first of all instructed them, "Go ye into the world and preach the gospel. Anyone who believes you, these signs will follow them. They will be able to do this, and they will be able to speak with other tongues." And indeed, in Acts 2, the apostles spoke with other tongues by the enablement of the Spirit, not by their own volition, they didn't want to speak those languages. And the Bible made it very clear, very evident that they were devout Jews from nations under heaven. What does that imply? It implies that people from different nations would definitely speak different languages. And for God to show that sign to them, because they were Jews, they were devout Jews actually, the Holy Spirit of God made the disciples to speak in different languages. So much so that the people, after hearing them, said, "Oh my God," they heard them. They heard different languages spoken by different disciples. They actually heard them speak their own native language, and they confirmed it. They said, "Oh, how come we hear these who speak in our own dialect? They who spoke Galilean." That was what they said about them. Because the disciples were illiterate. They were never learned. They were only literate in Galilean. But the Holy Spirit enabled them to speak different languages. And the people marveled. And that drew their attention. And Peter cashed in on that and preached gospel. And that was about 3,000 were won that day. That's the essence of the spiritual gift. And that's what Paul is saying at the beginning of this chapter. That follow the way of love and eagerly desire gifts and of the Spirit. Because to be able to speak to be able to speak in a particular tongue other than your own, to be able to speak in an unknown tongue other than a tongue that you know, is an ability of the Spirit. It's a gift of the Spirit. If you have listened to my previous teaching on this, you would understand this very clearly. So Paul is saying that yes, if you have the ability to speak in a particular tongue, and you are teaching or you are praying or you are singing in church, fine, you're not speaking to any man. Because the reason you're not speaking to any man is because no one understands you. That's what it says. Indeed, you are speaking mystery, or you are speaking God's wisdom. You are speaking about the wonderful works of God. Yes, by the Spirit of God. But then no one understands, because they are supposed to understand how. And that's why it says the one who prophesies is greater than the one who speaks in tongues, because the one who speaks in tongues Only God can understand what he's saying. People cannot understand what he's saying. But the one who prophesies, the one who speaks in an inspired, the one who speaks inspired message of God in a language that everyone understands, edifies the church. Because if I come to church and maybe I'm even praying or I'm singing a language everybody understands. I'm singing to the glory of God. So people will hear the song and they will be so inspired. But let's say I came to a church, an English-speaking church, and I was singing throughout, only English-speaking church. Nobody understood French, and I was speaking in French. I was singing in French. I was speaking in French. I was praying in French. How would it sound to the other people who are not French speaking? That's what Paul says. The one who prophesies is greater than the one who speaks in a tongue, unless someone interprets, so that the church may be edified. Why would Paul be insisting on the church being edified, when some people claim that, when I speak in tongues, I'm only talking to God, so nobody needs to understand? Why is Paul now, making this parallel, analogy? Why is he comparing them? He should have said, when you want to speak in a tongue, speaking in tongue, you're talking to God, fine. And if you will desire to speak to the church, speak to the church, it's all fine. Why? No, he's saying he who prophesies, is greater than the one who speaks in tongues. He said, unless, verse 5c, unless someone interprets, so that the church may be edified. That says it all. Why would Paul say that? Why would Paul insist that the church? Because the essence of any spiritual gift you have is to edify the church. And how can you edify the church? You can only edify the church by speaking in a language everyone understands. So, going back to the verse I started with, that's verse 18, that people confuse. That Paul says, I thank God I speak in tongues more than all of you. I just showed you now. He says, but, I have kept on and emphasizing on the use of the word but. Paul keeps on using but. He will say this, and he will use but to contradict what he has said. I thank God that I speak in tongues more than all of you. But in the church, I would rather speak 5 intelligible words to instruct others than 10,000 words in a tongue. What does that tell you? Those of you who claim, when you speak in tongues in prayer, yes, look at what Paul is saying. He said, in the church, I would rather speak 5 intelligible words. Intelligible. Check the meaning of the word intelligible in your dictionary. You will get it clear cut. That makes sense. That appeals to sense of meaning. That is constructive in meaning. So compare speaking. Paul says, I speak in tongues more than all of you. I said, later on, I'm going to show you evidence in the book of Acts to explain to you and to establish and solidify my position on what Paul meant here. When he says, I speak in tongues more than all of you. What Paul means here is that he has the ability to speak different languages. If you're a good Bible reader, you would actually know that Paul could speak more than 2, 3, 4, 5 languages. And that's what he's saying here. And that ability was not just a learned ability. It was a gift of the Holy Spirit. If you read the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 12, the last 2 verses, you will see where Paul talks about different kinds of spiritual gifts, which is ability to speak other tongues, other languages, and some ability to interpret these unknown tongues, unknown languages. It's all there. So Paul is saying this ability is by the Spirit. So if you are able to speak different languages, it's by the Spirit. But say in the church, I would rather speak 5 intelligible words to instruct others than 10,000 words in a tongue. Most of us speak in English. If we speak in sorry, I got a call via Skype. So you get what Paul is trying to say here. So please stop misinterpreting this very verse and stop using it to back what you do. because I've not even started talking about, talking about what you do in the name of speaking in tongues. The I've not even started that. I'm assuming that you were actually speaking, let's assume you were actually speaking a particular language, as against what you thought that speaking with tongue is speaking heavenly language. Have you seen anything like heavenly language so far from where we started from? Heavenly language, spiritual language, the language of heaven. The only one reference to the language of angels. You can see there was a kind of hypothetical statement in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, I guess, or 11, verse 1. If I speak with the language of men and that of the angel, I don't have love. Paul keeps on hammering on love. Because love would mean considering others. But if you are in a church and you're speaking only to God, and you're not allowing others to enjoy what you're saying, even if you think, the reason you're thinking, people don't need to understand you, is because you are erroneously thinking tongues there means spiritual language for prayer. That's the gross error that you have made. And it was based on that premise that you are confusing what the Bible meant. I don't know if you got what I'm saying. People got this twisted because they thought that speaking in tongue is praying in heavenly language. On that premise, which is a faulty premise by every standard, by the logical explanation I have given from the Bible here, it causes that confusion because they think, why should people understand what I'm saying? I'm praying to my God. It's a spiritual. No, but the Bible never refers to it as a spiritual language or language of heaven. Here, it's an ability of the Spirit, a gift of the Spirit. And the Bible says that the essence of this ability to speak different languages is to help the church. And if you have time, please read 1 Corinthians 14 in all the versions of the Bible that you can. You'll get fuller understanding of it, more than what somebody has taught you or what you've read in the book. But if you want to have more ideas, just if you cannot watch any of my previous episodes, just watch part 8. Search for it on Facebook under my timeline, or just go to YouTube, search for the controversial tongues, part 8. Only part 8 probably will give you all that you need to know. All that you need to know. So, let me just give you a taste of what is to come. I told you I have evidence in the Bible that when Paul said, why did this person keep calling? I'm sorry, somebody keeps calling me on Sky. So, why does Paul say, I speak in tongues more than all of you? Although he has, I'm so sorry, this call just keeps coming, and I'm using my device for this. I'm so sorry about it. So why does Paul say, I'm talking about all of you? It's because he's able to speak many languages, more than those who claim he could speak in different languages. But he quickly warned them. But in the church, after saying, I speak in tongues more than all of you, he said, but in the church, I would rather speak 5 intelligible words than speak 10,000 words in a tongue. So it's apparent, okay? Let me just show you one evidence. I'll continue from next episode because I'm rounding up now. Let's say Act 4. Let's read the book of Act 4. Act 4. Act 4. I want to show an evidence that Paul, the disciples were, okay, I'm starting from, I'm talking about Paul, right? But, okay, this evidence is showing the fact that the disciples were, I told you that the disciples were only able to speak Galilean. That was why it was so amazing to see them speak all these different languages. Let me show you one evidence of that. Act 4. If you have your Bible, turn to the book of Acts 4. I'm going to read it in New King James Version. I just want to change the version so that you if you have your, I said I want to show you an evidence that, when I said it a few weeks back, or in my previous, that the disciples were illiterate. They were only able to speak Galilean, because then in the Bible days, sign of literacy is the ability to speak Latin and all those other advanced languages, non-local languages. Now I want to read. Now I'm reading from verse 1, Acts chapter 4, verse 1. Now as they spoke to the people, the priest, the captain of the temple, and the Sadducees came upon them, being greatly disturbed that they taught the people and preached in Jesus the resurrection from the dead. And they laid hands on them and put them in custody until the next day, for it was already evening. However, many of those who heard the word believed, and the number of the men came to be about 5,000. Now, and it came to pass on the next day that the ruler elders and scribes, as well as Annas the high priest, Caiaphas, John, and Alexander, and as many as were of the family of the high priest, were gathered together at Jerusalem. And when they had set them in the midst, they asked, "By what power or by what name have you done this?" Then Peter, filled with the Holy Ghost, filled with the Holy Spirit, said to them, "Rulers of the people," I'm sorry, I need to read for you to understand the context. If you have your Bible, you can just read, and then we have an understanding together. I said, so Peter, filled with the Holy Spirit, started to address them. He said, "Rulers of the people and elders of Israel, if we this day are judged for a good deed done to a helpless man, by what means he has been made well, let it be known to you all and to all the people," blah, 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 blah. So let me calm down. So, now, when they saw the boldness of Peter and John, and perceived that they were uneducated and untrained men, they marveled. That's verse 13. Act 4, verse 13. Said, now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John, and they perceived that they were uneducated and untrained, they marveled. And they realized that they had been with Jesus. And seeing the man who had been healed standing with them, they could say nothing, so blah, 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 blah. That's an evidence to what I said, that the Galileans, the disciples, were only able to speak Galilean. They were not learned in different other languages. But on the day of Pentecost, after the Holy Spirit came upon them, He enabled them to speak these languages. I need to show you one example to show how that Paul could speak more than one language. Because I said so, so I'm going to do that now. Any day. Just a minute. Just a minute, please. Okay. Verse 39 to 40. Acts 21. If you have your Bible, turn to Acts 21. Yes, I think it's Act 21, verse 39 to 40. Let's Act 21, verse 39. Okay, let me go back. It's not showing me. Okay, Act 21, right? Yeah, I'm going to read and Okay, are you there? Verse 39. Okay, let me start from verse 38. No, let me start from verse 37. I'm sorry. Then, as Paul was about to be led into the barracks, he said to the commander, "May I speak to you?" He replied, "Can you speak Greek? Are you not the Egyptians who some time ago started up rebellion and led the 4,000 assassins out into the wilderness?" Look at it. That means he must have claimed Egyptian. Verse 39. But Paul said, "I am a Jew from Tarsus in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city. I implore you, permit me to speak to the people." So when he had given him permission, Paul stood on the steps and motioned with his hand to the people, and there was a great silence, and he spoke to them in the Hebrew language. Look at it. He was thought to be Egyptians, and he could speak Greek, and then he spoke to them in Hebrew. What else do you want? That's an evidence there that Paul could speak many languages. So when he said in the book of 1 Corinthians 14 verse 18 that I thank God I spoke anyone in more languages than you do. But in church, I would rather speak 5 words. So we need to stop the confusion. It's a clear-cut explanation here. I've shown you evidence of what I said. So this is not from me. This is what the Bible says. So it's high time we ended the confusion. Stop saying verse 2 as if it's a verse to promote speaking in tongues. No, it's only trying to come to a particular logical conclusion. But it says, "He who speaks in an unknown tongue does not speak to man." Of course, he doesn't speak to men, to people, because they don't understand him. Although you can use it, although he speaks mystery in the spirit. Of course, his ability to speak other languages is by the spirit. And of course, only God can understand him. But it's not only God that is supposed to understand him, because he's not praying, even in this context. It's not about prayer. People are supposed to understand him. People are supposed to be blessed by what he says in the tongue. That's why Paul says that a person who prophesies is better than who speaks in the tongue, except he interprets. So why is Paul advocating for interpretation of the tongue you claim you are speaking in prayer? Why does Paul ask for it to be interpreted? If you think, or if you thought that Paul was talking about prayer. So it's apparent. The person that is speaking that people cannot understand is doing the wrong thing. Not a good thing, actually. That's exactly what is here. That's what Paul is saying. That's why I say he who prophesies is better than who speaks in a tongue. So I'm going to round up right now. Thank you for those of you who joined and who are watching. Please, I really implore you, if you're interested in the subject, speaking in tongues that we see in a lot of churches nowadays, which I don't only believe, which the Bible contradicts, because what they are doing, the Bible, I repeat again, the Bible never, in one place in the Bible, you can search for yourself. I have searched. There's no one place in the Bible that says, "Oh, please pray in other tongues." Make sure you pray in other tongues, or make sure you are speaking in other tongues. No, there's no one place. The only place is hypothetical. If I pray in a tongue, my spirit prays, but my understanding is futile, is unproductive, is useless. Different versions say different things about it. So if I pray, please make sure you pray. If that's like, it's like somebody giving a hypothetical statement that, "Oh, if I pray in a tongue, my spirit prays." So if I pray, that's not an instruction. That is not an instruction. It's a hypothetical statement, if you know what I mean by that. Somebody has been trying to give you a logical explanation about something from the beginning, and knowing that many people confuse it for prayer language. It says, okay, for example, if I pray in a tongue, my spirit prays. Why? Why does it say that? Because remember, in the book of Acts, the apostle spoke different tongues, not by their own ability, not by their own intelligibility, but by the enablement of the Spirit. Maybe I should show you again. Please, let me quickly show you that before I round off. I'm about to round off here. Let's go back to Act 2. Act 2. You know, I made a very important point that when Jesus said in the book of Mark 16 verse 15 that these signs shall follow those who believe. These signs are not something to be practiced. No. Okay, maybe I should start from there. Jesus said, these signs shall follow those who believe. They will cast out devils. They will heal the sick. If by any means they drink something poisonous, it will not hurt them. If they will pick up serpent and it will not hurt them. And then they will speak with new tongues. They will speak with new tongues. And the next thing we saw in the book of Acts 2, when they were not praying. I'm in Act 2 now. You have read the chapter severally. It's apparent they were not praying. The Bible says, when the day of Pentecost had fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled the whole house where they were sitting. Then there appeared to them divided tongues as of fire, and one sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak with other tongues. Now, the last part, as the Spirit gave them utterance. It's the Spirit that gave them the utterance, the ability to be able to speak those languages. Not that because they feel the Holy Spirit and they start speaking with tongues. No. The Spirit of God gave them the utterances. That means He gave them what to speak. And don't forget, now let me read verse 5 for you. And there were dwelling in Jerusalem, Jews, devout men from every nation under heaven. You can see what I've been talking about in the morning since I started. I told you that Paul saying that he was able to speak in tongues more than they all. What he meant is he was able to speak many languages. And I showed you the evidence in the book of Acts 21 verse 38 to 39. So 39 to 40. And here's another evidence. The Spirit enabled them the Spirit gave them the utterances to speak different languages. And here is the evidence. Look at it. And there were dwelling in Jerusalem Jews, devout men from every nation under heaven. Every nation cannot be one nation. Every nation under heaven. And what does it say? And when this sound occurred, the multitude came together and were confused. Why were they confused? Because everyone heard them speak in his own language. So you can see, every one of them heard them speak in his own language. I told you that the meaning of tongue is language is used interchangeably. It's everywhere in the Bible. Okay? Verse 7. Then they were all amazed and marveled, saying to one another, Look, are not all these who speak Galileans? I told you earlier on that the the disciples were illiterate. They were not learned men. They were only able to speak Galilean. And literacy then, the mark of literacy then was the ability to speak, the language of the noble, the language of the rich, the language of the high priest and the noble, the kings, the royalties. That was the mark of literacy then. But they were just common people. So that's why these people were marveled. They were marveled. They were amazed. These people, they spoke in our languages. And let me show you the nationalities that were there. It's here right there, verse 8. And how is it? They were still marveling. How is it that we hear each in our own language in which we were born? Parthians and Medes and Elamites and those dwelling in Mesopotamia, Judea, Cappadocia, Pontus, Asia, Phrygia, Pamphylia, Egypt, and the parts of Libya, adjoining Cyrene, visitors from Rome, both Jews and proselytes, Cretans, Arabs, we hear them speaking in their own tongues. What were they saying? I'm sorry, my battery is messing up. Let me move it before it goes on. So you can see, look at all the people that were saying, they were marveled, because they were amazed and perplexed to one another. What could this mean? And Peter used this opportunity to what? To preach the gospel. And that's exactly what I was telling you there. That, the fact that Paul said, I speak in tongues. When he said that he spoke in tongues more than they all, he was only referring to the fact that he could speak many languages. So, if you agree that tongue means languages, then what Paul is trying to say in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 14 is to say that, fine, when you can say that it's enabled, that ability is enabled by the Spirit of God. Don't forget, I reminded you what I've always said, that you don't go about casting out devils. You don't just go everywhere. Every time you go to church, you cast out devils. So why must you pray in tongues? Why must you speak in tongues every time you go to church? When you go to church, do you drink poison? When you go to church, do you heal the sick every time you go to church? It's only when there's a need to do that. There was a need to speak with tongues, so the Spirit enabled them here. In Acts chapter 10, Cornelius' household, Peter was preaching to them. And while he was yet speaking, the Holy Spirit came upon them and they spoke with tongues. And those who came with Peter, those from the house of faith that came with Peter, they were surprised. That was what God wanted to do with them. He wanted to show them a sign that the gospel has been extended to the Gentiles. The Spirit of God has been extended to the Gentiles. That was the point he wanted to prove to them. So he made the Spirit of God come upon them. They were not praying. They were listening to the preaching of Peter. And then they started speaking with tongues. They were not praying. It's not a prayer language. You may choose to pray in a particular tongue, in a particular language. Maybe in French, in Latin, in Spanish, in Cantonese. But it's not any language. But it's an ability of the Spirit. That's why Paul is saying in Corinthians 14 that desire the gift of the Spirit, but that you would prophesy. Because to prophesy means to speak in inspired, to speak inspired message, in preaching, in teaching, in comforting others. And how can others be comforted? How can they be enlightened? How can they be edified? It's when they understand what you're saying. That's why I said in verse 2 that, for he who speaks in a tongue speaks to no man. For no one understands. The reason he speaks to no man, he's supposed to speak to men. But the reason he's not speaking to men is because only God can understand him. And he's wrong. Paul is saying later, if you read that 1 Corinthians 14 down, say, fine, you may pray in a tongue, you may give praise in a tongue, you have done well, but the other person has not been edified. That's what he says. That's what Paul says. Say, you may have given thanks, very fine, but the other person is not edified. So why is Paul saying the other person is not edified? If you think speaking in tongue is for prayer, no, just look at it. If speaking in tongue is something between you and God alone, why is Paul everywhere, from the beginning to the end, he keeps saying that there is need for you to interpret, there is need for the church to be edified, there is need for everyone to understand what you're saying. It's there. Let me just show you once again, just one last time. Throughout, he kept on saying it. He kept on saying it. 1 Corinthians 14. Just a second, I'm rounding up now. I'm so sorry. Taking more than the time that 1 Corinthians 14. Okay, I'm reading the King James Version. It keeps saying, but he that prophesies speaks to all men for edification and exhortation and comfort. He that speaks in an unknown tongue edified himself, but he that prophesies edified the church. He kept on using but. And he says, I would that ye all speak with tongues, but rather ye prophesy. For greater is he that prophesies than he that speaketh with tongues, except he interpret, that the church may receive edifying. Why must he say? Let me show you again. When he insists that even if the person is using tongue, he must make sure that the entire church understands. Okay, let's go to, look at verse 6. It says, now brethren, if I come to you speaking with tongues, what shall I profit you? Except I shall speak to you either by revelation, or by knowledge, or by prophesying, or by doctrine. It keeps on saying that. Okay, let me show you another part. where he keeps on talking. He says, so likewise ye, except ye utter, that's in verse 9 now. 1 Corinthians 14 verse 9. So likewise you, except ye utter by the tongue words, words easy to be understood. How shall it be known what is spoken? For ye shall speak into the air. So what is Paul saying? If speaking in tongues is between you and God alone, why is Paul insisting that there's need for people to understand what you're saying? Verse 12, it says, verse 11 says, if I know not the meaning of the voice, that shall be unto him that speaketh a barbarian. Paul is not talking about prayer for crying out loud. Verse 12, it says, even so, for as much as ye are zealous of spiritual gifts, seek that ye may excel to the edifying of the church. Look at what Paul is saying. He makes it very clear that even though you are so zealous, you want to have spiritual gifts, make sure you seek those that make you excel in edifying the church. Verse 13, wherefore let him that speaketh an unknown tongue pray that he may interpret. So why does it say that you can see how many references now? Like 4. Every time he talks about you speaking in tongues, he wants everyone to understand. So for that, he's clearly, saying that speaking in tongues in this context is not at all about prayer. It's not praying. It's not about prayer. Paul is not talking about prayer. And the only reference he made to prayer is hypothetical, like I said earlier on, verse 14. He said, for if I pray, for you to know that speaking in tongues is not prayer, what you call spiritual language. Okay, that would be very self-contradicting. If speaking in tongues is praying in heavenly tongue, why would Paul say, if I pray in an unknown tongue? That means how would you now put it? Because unknown is not in the original language, like I told you. But let's say for the purpose of explaining the meaning, unknown tongue, unknown language, not known to you. So if I pray in a language that is not known to me, but my spirit prayer, because the ability, as I showed you in the book of Acts 2, the Spirit of God enabled me to be able to speak that language, to use it to pray. So he said, if I speak in a tongue, yes, my spirit prays, because the ability to speak that tongue, that language, by the Spirit. He said, but my understanding is unfruitful. So what is it there in verse 15? I will pray with the Spirit. I will allow the Spirit of God to lead me in prayer. He said, but now he's not using but. He said, and I will pray with understanding also. So what he's saying that it's important that I pray by the Spirit, and it's also very important that by the Spirit I don't just go on speaking because I can speak French in an English speaking environment. I can speak French. I just go on speaking French because I'm enjoying myself in the Spirit. I'm speaking French. No, I should be able to interpret what I'm saying. Otherwise, I keep quiet in church. Let me show you that part quickly and I round up. So you don't think I'm just... It says, if... let me see that part. Verse 23, I'm running off there. It says, if therefore the whole church be come together into one place, and all speak with tongues, and there come in those that are unlearned or unbelievers, what we did not say that ye are mad. It's there in the Bible, King James Version. I didn't say that. It's there. You can read it by yourself. Now, verse 26 is the last straw that breaks the camel's back. He said, how is it then? When you come together, every one of you had the psalm, had the doctrine, had the tongue, had the revelation, had an interpretation. Let all things be done and edifying. Verse 27. If any man speak in an unknown tongue, let it be by 2, at the most by 3, that it cause, and that by cause let one interpret. 28. But if there's no interpreter, I'm reading from the Bible. But if there's no interpreter, let him keep silence in the church. So what does that mean? You must not speak other languages to confuse. You must not speak other languages in an environment where there's a common language. That's what it's saying. You want to do anything in church in another language, you should not do it in church, because you will not be edifying the next person, the other people in church. Even if you think it's for prayer. Just I gave you an instance in my last episode. You are praying. Oh, for example, my dialect is Yoruba, and this is an entirely English speaking environment, or French speaking environment, or Arabic speaking environment. And I'm praying my tongue, oh, Olúwa lágbára gíga, ilẹ̀ dọ̀run àti ayé kò sóhun tí ẹ lè ṣe. Meaning that, oh God, you are the most powerful, you are omniscient. There's nothing that you cannot do. You created the entire world. You know, if I spoke English earlier on, if there was an unbeliever or somebody with a problem, somebody who needs a defining, if he hears that you are the God of all and there's nothing impossible unto you, that could actually help him. Maybe he was downcast. Maybe he was already at a verge of losing hope. But hearing that God is able to do anything could encourage him. That's what he's saying here. That's what Paul is insisting. Yes, the ability to speak with tongues is fine. There are different languages. But what's the use if it's not helping others in church? Except you're going to interpret what you're saying. For somebody who didn't understand Yoruba, by the time the person heard the English I spoke, the person will be so happy, will understand what I've said. That's the essence of church. That's what Paul says. If there's no interpreter, let him keep silence in the church. Let him keep silence in the church and let him speak to himself and to God. It means in church. When you are alone at home, somewhere alone, then you can speak in any language. Of course, there's no problem. Even if you claim, it's heavenly language you are speaking. But I've shown you, it's not up to you. There's no one place where the word heavenly or divine or spiritual is mentioned as per the tongue or the language. Okay? So on this note, in the next episode, I'm going to show you further evidences that this tongue, this speaking in tongue, is simply languages in this world. Alright? And I'm going to draw your attention to something, a little bit different. People claim, speaking in tongue is praying in the spirit only. I'm going to show you in the Bible where people were in the spirit and they were not speaking in tongues. I'm going to show you in the Bible that speaking in tongues is not the only sign for the impartation of as a symbol or as a sign of the incoming of the Spirit of God. It happened 3 times in the Bible: Acts 2, Acts 10, Acts 19. It never did again. It never did again. People never spoke in tongues to show that they will receive the Holy Spirit. But they received Holy Spirit in several places. I'm going to show you that in the next episode. So watch out for part 10 of this long series titled The Controversial Songs. So for everyone who joined me today, thank you. You are blessed. If you have any question, if you have any comment, if you have any argument, please post it on the comment space. I will respond to it. But as I always say, if you don't have a very deep understanding on this subject, then you might need to go back to the Bible and read and study before you probably come out with an argument. And an easy way for you, if you don't have time to read Bible, so watch my previous episode, though this is part 9, so you may have to watch 1 to 8 to have a very, very detailed understanding of my position. You may have your own position, but you need to understand my position. Okay? If you have a position, you can share it on the comment line, and then I'll respond to it. Until I come your way again, my name is Ladi Salako, and this is my Facebook channel. My YouTube channel is called Fair Criticism. The title of this series is The Controversial Tongues. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it on YouTube. Okay? Subscribe to my YouTube channel, my Facebook channel, and then God bless you. And I see you next time. Ciao.